the crew compartment, so he didn't have a projectile injury with the benefit of hindsight. And when the truck rolled to the stop, the driver of the 7-ton sent out over the radio that I've got Steffens injured. His name was Stevens, but we called him Steffens because there was 2 of them in the company. So Stevens was injured. Well, the other Marines from the Humvees the vehicle commanders moved the Humvees to establish positions of commanding terrain on road intersections, etc. This is nighttime. And then some of the Marines from those Humvees came back to the 7-ton where the Marine was wounded and began to treat the wound. While this was happening, the 3rd 7-ton, who had the most senior driver, maneuvered his 7-ton on adjacent streets so that it was in front of the 1st 7-ton, the disabled one, and the driver there got out after having backed up his 7-ton and was rigging the 1st 7-ton for tow, the disabled one. So Corporal Court and one of the vehicle commanders of the Humvees, Corporal Pearson, were rigging the disabled 7-ton for tow, while several of the other vehicle commanders dismounted their Humvees and moved to the site of the injury, proceeded to open the passenger side door of the 7-ton and start to talk to Steffens and ask him, "Are you hurt? You know, what's going on?" As he couldn't describe what was happening to him, or he didn't know how badly he was hurt, they started to pull his gear off and his clothes off, trying to expose the wound, which is typical technique, to the point where he's eventually more or less shirtless. I don't remember if he was wearing a flight suit or camouflage utilities, but he's shirtless. There's a crew of Marines, Boleen, the corpsman, Corporal Fristaglio, a vehicle driver, Corporal Beer, a dismounted Marine, just a rifleman. These Marines are standing, Corporal Green, another vehicle driver, they're standing right by the passenger side door of the 7-ton, or in Green's case, I believe he was a few feet forward, providing security at the front part of the 7-ton. Court and Pearson are rigging the truck for tow. Staff Sergeant Ledford, the section leader, as well as another Marine, are standing right there too, but they're just forward of the passenger side door, so that when the IEDs detonate, the path from fragmentation round to Ledford has to go through the actual wheels, the dense metal wheels, not the tires of the 7-ton. So, you know, Ledford has men have their legs traumatically amputated to his left, to his right, and he emerges unscathed, just in a freak bit of luck. When 3 shells detonated, much of the frag hit the 7-ton and bounced off, but what was exposed underneath the 7-ton was all these men's legs. So several of them had both their legs traumatically amputated, and then the accelerant, the diesel fuel, set everything on fire and resulted in some severe burns for several of them as well. Some incredible stories of heroism. The force of the blast, as it frequently does, we've learned, knocked everybody unconscious, we believe, just for a moment, a second, maybe 10 seconds. And when the Marines would wake up, the stories that they tell today are that they woke up to a scene of everything being on fire, including them, but they don't typically realize this as the first thought. They see a lot of things on fire, and so other Marines are coming to their aid. The instant that IEDs detonated, the other mobile section had launched from Snake Pit with First Sergeant Lampols and our company, First Sergeant and our medevac team leader. They had traveled down to almost the same location where this event occurred, and they were just rounding the corner onto Women's and Children's Road when the IEDs detonated. So in the immediate aftermath of this napalm fragmentation explosion, Lampolson moves forward with his high-back. This is the company medevac vehicle at that time.
You said it's First Sergeant Lampolson? First
Right.
Sergeant,
okay. And he attempts to move forward to the side of the blast. Of course, there's a giant crater in the road. He can't get to it, so he, knowing that 2 IEDs have gone off, the acetylene tank and the triple stack, he dismounts his vehicle, turns on his white light, which is not tactically sound. But
This is all at night too. This is all at night.
yeah, and he basically chooses, as many of us did, I mean, at various points in the deployment, that being able to see to him at that moment is more important than the fact that he is illuminating himself to an observer who, if they don't have night vision, are now going to be able to see him. But this was just typical of what he would do. And he proceeded to basically lead the medevac truck through a trash field because he had to go up on the sidewalk to get off the road so he wouldn't fall, the truck wouldn't fall in the crater. Well, that's the scariest thing you can do, is after 2 IEDs have gone off, start to walk through a debris field where anything could be another IED, could be a pressure plate where you're going to step on it, could be a landmine buried.